The MLB's still in a lockout. We're heading into conference play in college basketball. The NBA and the NHL march on. This is episode 191 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, as always. Looking at last episode, I went 2-1. I still did not win a pick of the pod. I am 0-6 actually on my pick of the pods, however. But you didn't get your Levy lock either, Brett.
No, I missed out on it. The Bulls did not come through for me, Higgins. Wasn't my best week, but hey, we hit a plus 122 bet. So, you take it and you just move on to the next one. Can't really complain. Higgins, you mentioned the conference tournaments coming up. We've got 3 teams with their bids already punched to the dance. I believe Murray State, Longwood, and one more
Loyola
team. Loyola
Chicago.
Chicago. There we go.
Sister Jean is trending on Twitter. Loyola Chicago heading back to the dance.
Yeah, so, we've got some teams already with their ticket punched, and should be a fun week here coming up of conference tournament action.
And we're going to get into our college basketball in a little bit. First, Beginners Boulevard. We're going to talk about a term. You might not hear this one all the time, but it's a nap. And that's a synonym to a lock. And basically you're saying this game is such a lock that you can take a nap. You don't have to watch the game at all.
Fair enough, Higgins. No one has ever used this term to me.
I've never heard it either, but I found it online.
Yeah, I believe it's out there. And, it's definitely good information for everyone to have. Now we know what people are talking about. But like you said, I don't know how common this one is. No one has ever used this term to me. But maybe I'll just throw it out there. Let someone know I'm listening to the NBB pod and I know what a nap is.
Absolutely. Now it's just a who knows type of Beginners Boulevard. We're getting into those intermediate, maybe lesser known terms. Let's jump into some picks, Brett. I mean, there was some news with the NFL Combine. Are you a Combine guy, Brett?
I think the Combine matters in the sense that if you are investing, if an NFL franchise, rather, is investing, we'll call it our picks, rounds 1 through 3, a day 1, day 2 draft pick, you're probably going to have some fantasy value, maybe, some prop bets you'll be able to wager on. So I think it is important from that perspective. But I think for, the day 3 guys, watching them play on actual Saturdays probably is more beneficial than the Combine. But if you got a guy, I'm going to use this guy from North Dakota State, right? His name's Christian Watson, runs really fast, had a good Senior Bowl, had a pretty good Combine. We don't really watch that much North Dakota State football on Saturday, Higgins. So, seeing someone like that perform well, I think it matters. Maybe someone from a bigger school has kind of an off day. A guy like David Bell from Purdue, people are saying may not have had the best Combine, but was a 5-star talent, was a big-time playmaker when he was on the field at Purdue. Maybe I would say the Combine doesn't matter as much for him. So I think it's a little bit situational. I enjoyed the chatter out of it. I think there's some fun, content that goes on around it. But I don't think it's be all, make or break for these guys' careers, Higgins. But I do think there's a little information can be gained.
I think it's beneficial mostly. It can rarely be a hindrance. I mean, you have to perform pretty horribly in your pro day or your Combine to have it really hurt your draft stock. But I think technology has helped the smaller schools like in North Dakota State as well, that it helps some of those guys get to the Combine, which has a limited amount of invites and slots to it. And then I'd also say I think it also helps. It only really helps a guy like Chris Olave, who's in a talented wide receiver class here, but no one really thought he was that fast, and then he goes out and he runs a 4.3 something, and everyone's got their eyebrows a little bit more raised. I mean, it helps. And then there's the content side, like you see some of these offensive linemen. Always great to see the big guys run, as Lauren Rutledge put it on ESPN. But there's some great content that comes out of this. I entirely agree with it. NFL Combine, I think it mostly helps a player. I don't think it can really hurt a player most of the time.
Well, we will find out in a few short weeks here. The draft's coming up, free agency's coming up, so NFL never stops, Higgins.
Yes, let's get into our picks now. NBA, we got a few games going on Monday, Brett, and I like this Hawks-Pistons game mainly because if you look at the against the spread stats for how the Hawks have done on the road this year, they're 10-21. And they're supposed to cover an 8-point spread in Detroit. I think the young talent's going to compete in Detroit, and I think maybe they don't win, but +8, they're going to keep it close enough, and I'm going to back them.
Yeah, Detroit's played pretty well coming out of the All-Star break here. Higgins looked pretty good post-trade deadline. So
they're 3-2 in their last 5.
Yeah, so I think that +8 is the side I would want to be on as well. But I'm staying away from that one, and I'll be on this Jazz Mavericks game, Higgins, Utah. Slight dogs, 1.5-point dogs at Dallas. I'm just going to go straight to the money line, get Utah at even money. Higgins, I guess I truly believe this is a coin flip game. So the fact that I'm getting some, positive EV here, I'm very cool with that with Utah. So, is this my favorite play I've ever given out on the podcast? No, Dallas could absolutely win this game at home. But, if you wake me up on Tuesday morning, Higgins, and tell me that Utah won by 8 or 5, I wouldn't be shocked either. So I'm just taking this strictly for the odds. Even money, I feel like that's good value, in a true 50-50 game here.
Mitchell versus Doncic is going to be a great matchup, and it might just come down to who has the hotter night between those two.
Yeah, I mean, Gobert blocks a few shots at the rim, changes, a few key possessions here, and all of a sudden this thing starts tipping Utah's way. So that's a play I like. I'm a big fan of your play as well with the Detroit +8.
Absolutely. Those are our only plays in the NBA. Let's jump into some college basketball. Like we said, it's conference tournament time. You and I both looking at the West Coast Conference. I'll go first because I have the earlier game. It's between San Francisco and Gonzaga. This is a matchup that you're familiar with from a few weeks ago, Brett, actually, where you got Gonzaga at -9.5. Right now they're -12, and I'm actually going to back that again. Gonzaga coming off a loss to St. Mary's. They need to come in focused. They're not going to take anything for granted, and I feel sorry for San Francisco just having to be the next team facing them after a loss, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Higgins. I don't think it's a good spot for San Francisco to be facing Gonzaga off a loss. I will say that game in San Francisco did not go well for the Dons, and Gonzaga blew them out. Now, San Francisco is a borderline NCAA tournament team right now, Higgins. They're going to need to be.
You're right.
Yeah, they're going to need to be competitive in this game. So I would actually advise going on the opposite side of you here. But, hey, I could be a loser, Higgins. So, your -12 play, certainly backing the better team. But I think the San Francisco side, to be honest, is where I want to be in this one. Although I do like your reasoning, Gonzaga coming in off of a loss. They're going to be motivated. I don't doubt that for a second.
San Francisco also surprisingly not that strong against the spread this year, 12-18-1.
Yeah, good information. Again, this is more of just hey, we're the San Francisco Dons. We don't really make the tournament very much. We have a great opportunity this year. We come out and we lose by 5 to Gonzaga. We're probably in this year. So, I'm kind of playing that narrative, Higgins.
Mm-hmm. But, I get you.
But, I have to be real, right? I have to respect Gonzaga. I have to, truly take into consideration, hey, this team lost about a week ago and hasn't played since. Like, they're probably pretty fired up to get out there. So I don't think your play is crazy or, insane, asinine, anything like that. I just maybe, for me personally, I like the other side, that narrative a little more.
Hey, that's fair. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. Gonzaga won it at home. They won it at San Francisco. Now the West Coast Conference Tournament is in Vegas. Who knows who wins that one? Gonzaga favored heavily, though. I like my reasoning. I think they're going to come out focused, though.
Yeah, no, I think, it's going to be an interesting game to watch. There's another interesting game in the WCC as Santa Clara takes on St. Mary's. St. Mary's, the team that beat Gonzaga about a week ago, Higgins. Look, they're a good team, top 25 team in the country. We've heard of St. Mary's between Patty Mills and Matt Dellavedova and Jock Lansock. So these guys, good team, well-coached team. They've been here before. They've done it. Santa Clara, much more of an up-and-down program. Obviously, they're high, being during the Steve Nash era. So, look, give me St. Mary's -5 here. I'm expecting St. Mary's and Gonzaga to meet in the WCC tournament final and give us a great game there. I think if this game was, 8 points, Higgins, I'd probably be on the Santa Clara side. But at 5 points, I think St. Mary's can get that done.
A lot of people, about 89%, are on the same side as you here, Brett. Both of these teams really good against the spread this year, almost identical. Each have 18 covers against the spread, about 11 and 9 losses respectively between Santa Clara and St. Mary's. So this is a game I looked at too. I decided to stay away from the spread. I am eyeing this over-under, though, Brett, because if you look at how these two teams played earlier this year, it was a 138 was the first time, and then it was, I believe, 149 was the second total. So 138 feels low, -125 looks like it's going to get boosted up. I think it's going to be a 70-plus point game by both teams, probably.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, Higgins, is someone that will be watching this game. I would not hate an over, watching a late night over. Give me some scoring, some offense. Keep me engaged, Higgins.
Santa Clara also trying to fight for a spot in the dance, and they're a 78 point per game type of team, whereas St. Mary's, they hinge off their defense. They average high 60s, and their defense is in the 50s. Look at their game against Gonzaga, for example, a 67-57 win over Gonzaga. So it's a really tale of two teams and who's going to run with the ball quicker or the defense going to pick up. So interesting game. 2 late night games, though, so I don't know if either of us on the East Coast are going to be up watching these ones.
Yeah, we will have to see. As for the WCC, Higgins, just because you kind of mentioned it briefly there, I think Gonzaga probably locked in. St. Mary's probably locked in. San Francisco, right on that borderline. All things being even, if no one steals an at-large bid, probably in today by the time we're recording this podcast, but by the end of the week, that could shift. And BYU is really the fourth team, Higgins, that, can stake claim to an at-large. I don't think Santa Clara's in that group. But BYU would be out right now, according to both Lenardi and other bracketologists. So Santa Clara, probably another step down from BYU, but doesn't mean they can't make a run here and, give themselves a little bit of a chance.
Absolutely. Should be an interesting 2 games in the WCC for sure. One other sport going on Monday that we want to talk about, Brett. I want to shift into the NHL real quick. I did have some success in my pick last episode. I'm dipping back in again, and it's the Avalanche versus the Islanders. And I'm taking the under 6 because when the Islanders are at home, they cover unders. Absolutely every time. I don't know what it is about them playing at home, but they are covering these unders very well. I'll pull up the exact number right now. 1 second. 7-18 is how many overs they've hit. So 18 unders to 7 overs.
Yeah, well, it's been a disappointing year in Long Island for sure, Higgins. So, look, I think to say that the Islanders may not score enough goals is a fair bet here.
Yeah, it really comes down to the Avalanche because they can score a lot of goals. That's why it's up at 6, I think.
Yeah, the Avalanche can certainly score. They're very talented. Goaltending can be a little hot and cold for the Avs. So you're relying a lot on the Avs here. But I think under is definitely within the realm of possibilities on Monday night.
Here's the thing about the Avs and why I think they're going to have an off night, though, also. If you look at their past 5 games, they've alternated between home games and away games, back and forth every single game. That's a lot of traveling right now, even though it's just after the All-Star break. And it's just going to, now that they're going from being in Colorado facing Calgary on Saturday to being in New York on Monday facing the Islanders, just feels like a lot of traveling that they're doing.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. But Higgins, we both lost our Levy Lock and pick of the pod. So, I mean, I might as well just surrender the odds to you because it's been 5 weeks since you went first. I feel like it's well earned. You do a lot of work on this podcast, Higgins. You deserve, some honors sometimes, man.
I appreciate that, even though I'm winless right now with my pick of the pod.
We're going to change that here.
Yes, we are. We're going to change that here with Gonzaga minus 12. Like I said, they're coming off the loss to St. Mary's, where they only scored 57 points. Everyone had an off night. No one shot the ball well. Coming in, facing San Francisco in Vegas. Got to get ready to go play anybody in a neutral site. I think they're going to get ready and set the tone right here against the Dons, and they're going to get it done, and they're going to cover.
Fair enough, Higgins. Well, call me Johnny Public for my pick of the pod because I am riding the St. Mary's Gills minus 5. Higgins, you told me 89% of the wagers are coming in on the Gills at the time we're recording this podcast. That is not good, but I will give you some good news, Higgins. As much as the public loses, they win sometimes. So here's to hoping that this is one of those times. Look, I think St. Mary's is just a better team here. I don't think the number is big enough to scare me off. The Gonzaga number, minus 12, kind of scared me off, Higgins. I don't know if that's the right or wrong read, but I gave you some reasons why I like the plus 12 maybe for San Francisco. It's much harder for me to find, the reasons to find plus 5 and reasons to like it for Santa Clara. But, I'm sure they exist. You pointed out how good they are against the spread, but give me the better team in this situation. St. Mary's is trying to lock up the WCC. They're trying to prove that they're the best team in the conference this year.
I think it's definitely going to be a Gonzaga versus St. Mary's finals in the WCC again. That's going to be a very interesting game to watch.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That's what we're all rooting for sure.
Hopefully both of ours cover, and then our pick of the pod and Levy Lock can face off to see who gets the automatic bid.
There we go. That's what we like to see, Higgins.
All right, make sure to follow us on social media at NBBPod on Twitter, at NextBestBet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. This has been episode 191 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys again soon.